Welcome to part 5 of the Getting Unstuck workshop. Today's topic is pleasant and mastery activities. So today we'll be following up on part 4, in which we talked about brainstorming activities to add back into your daily routine. Today we'll continue with that, focused a little bit more on some different types of activities you may want to add back in. So we'll start just focused on pleasant activities. Pleasant activities are related to the enjoyment scale that we had focused on in part 3, the activity monitoring, in terms of rating each activity depending on how much you enjoy it. So pleasant activities are ones that you enjoy. So they can be ones that are just enjoyable, such as like our example of watching TV. They can also be activities that are both enjoyable and important, such as time with friends or something like that. First, it's important to recognize that these activities, meaning pleasant activities, tend to disappear when we're depressed. A lot of the reasons why that happens is some of it is symptom related in terms of lack of interest and things aren't enjoyable anymore. And also there tend to be a lot of thoughts that come throughout the course of depression when we'll think about doing a pleasant activity, or thoughts that interfere with our ability to even think of pleasant activities that we might want to do. So some of the examples of some of those thoughts could be things like, I don't deserve to have fun, or I don't enjoy anything anymore, again related to that symptom we were talking about. A thought that something will go wrong, so if I try to do this, it'll just go wrong and I won't end up having a good time anyway. And finally, I don't have enough energy to do X, Y, or Z. Also, sometimes there are thoughts such as like, I will start doing that when I feel better. And what we find is that engaging in pleasant activities in spite of these thoughts can actually reduce depressive symptoms. Again, with that in mind, of trying to engage in pleasant activities to reduce depressive symptoms, we have some examples here of things that can be fun to do. So examples of pleasant activities can be playing with a pet, going shopping, or just window shopping, even if you don't want to spend money. It can also be just looking online, maybe adding things to your Amazon wish list, something like that. Listening to music, reading for fun, doing something creative like coloring, painting, drawing, sculpting. Also writing, so you can write a poem, a song, a play, a story. You can write a journal entry, anything that you would want. So again, these types of activities can also fall on the inventory that we discussed in part 4. So depending on your values, what is important to you in your life, you might have different pleasant activities. Some of these might fall under recreation, they might fall in other life areas, but again, really important to add these activities back in because they tend to fall off in depression for a variety of different reasons. So now shifting gears to focus a little bit more on mastery activities. So first, what are mastery activities? Mastery activities are somewhat related to the importance scale that we discussed in part 3 of the activity monitoring, meaning how important is a specific activity for you. But mastery activities more particularly are related to a sense of accomplishment. So these would be activities that may or may not be enjoyable, but when you do these things, you tend to feel accomplished. So some examples can be something like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, washing dishes. Can also be bigger things like completing a homework assignment, taking a test. Can be things like exercise. Ranges from chores and hygiene type activities to activities that will give you a sense of accomplishment in your education, can be in career, could be like applying for a job would be another mastery activity. So something that's important and that the act of completing or the act of trying it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. Specifically, when we look at why these activities would be important, we see that they also tend to disappear when we're depressed, these mastery activities. Also related to a variety of different reasons, but some thoughts that tend to come up very similarly to one of the reasons we talked about why pleasant activities fall off when we're depressed. It's just the thought of, I don't have enough energy to do X, Y, or Z, so I don't have enough energy to get up and brush my teeth, or I don't have enough energy to work on homework. Another really common thought is, especially in that area of like education and career, could be thoughts like, I'll mess it up, or I'll fail, or just something will go wrong, so there's no point in trying. And so while these thoughts do tend to get in the way, when we try to do these activities anyway, what we can find is that things can go right, which can lead to more thoughts that are a little bit more positive, such as like, my life is not completely terrible, and the act of trying alone can make life more enjoyable. So, and here by enjoyable, it's not necessarily, we're not referring to pleasant, but more enjoyable in the sense of like rewarding. Like if I'm having the thought of everything goes wrong anyway, so there's no point in trying, so I don't work on my homework, we kind of know how that tends to go, right? You are lying in bed feeling pretty bad about yourself, and that pattern kind of continues. If, however, you recognize that thought and get up out of bed and work on the homework, there's more of an opportunity to have something rewarding happen. Whether it's just like, it could just be being able to, give yourself a pat on the back and say, I'm proud of working on this even though I didn't feel like it. And it can also be then getting a grade back and finding, wow, I did well on that homework assignment even though I didn't think I would. So again, by doing it, we have the opportunity for something good to happen, whereas by not trying, we don't have that opportunity. And again, here, the idea is the act of trying is the most important part. The outcome, if you do get that outcome, like in the homework example of getting a good grade, that's fantastic. And the outcome isn't really all that necessary here. We're more looking for just the act of the effort and being able to give yourself credit for making the effort while recognizing it's really hard to do that while depressed. So some examples of mastery activities. I went over a bunch of these examples in the previous slide, but they range again from chores and hygiene to other bigger activities. So washing dishes, doing laundry, returning phone calls, emailing a professor, taking out the trash, taking a shower, reading a chapter for class, starting a homework assignment. Again, all of these things would give you a feeling of accomplishment by working on them. So the last area that we'll focus on today is social activities. So these oftentimes, for a lot of us, tend to be activities that would rank highly on both the importance and enjoyment scales. So it's a little bit different from pleasant activities, a little bit different from mastery activities. Social activities are really, in a lot of ways, a combination of both, and in some other ways, just a really important area to target specifically because of what tends to happen in depression. So, as we have listed here, depression often equates to isolation. As we talked about before, one of the hallmark symptoms is withdrawal from family, friends, activities, everything that's important to us. And as we're withdrawing from more and more, we become more and more isolated. And so, as we talked about with mastery activities, when we stop doing these things, when we are isolated and stop seeing other people or interacting with other people, we have less of an opportunity for good things to happen. And again, these social activities can disappear because of a variety of different thoughts, such as like, people don't like me, or this is going to go wrong anyway, or I don't have the energy to go out and do this. And again, those thoughts get in the way, but when we don't push through and try anyway, we don't give ourselves any chance to have a good experience. By getting out and spending time with others, we can reverse that spiral of depression by, again, creating more of an opportunity for rewarding and or enjoyable experiences to actually happen. And for many of us, as I mentioned, these activities are both enjoyable and provide a sense of accomplishment. And again, the sense of accomplishment in the sense of, specifically with social activities, this idea of that was time well spent. For some people, engaging in pleasant activities, and especially when depressed, can result in like a sense of guilt, like I don't deserve to have fun. Whereas social activities, because they often are valued, can be really enjoyable and also give us a bit of a way to see that time as well spent, regardless of that sense of not deserving to have fun. And again, regardless of the guilt that comes up, it's important to engage in pleasant activities, but social activities are just a really important area to focus on. So here, a lot of different examples of social activities, such as planning a meal with a friend, attending a sporting event, going to a library, coffee shop, or other public space to study. And this one's important to highlight because being social doesn't necessarily have to mean connecting with one specific person or people that you already know. It can just be reducing the isolation. So instead of being by yourself, just being around other people, even if they aren't people you know or know well. Another example is going to a gym class, a dance class, a martial arts class, etc. Watching a movie with a friend, calling or texting a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, playing video games with friends. Again, you can use a whole different mediums are fine. Here, the important part is just to have some sort of interaction or be around other people as opposed to just isolating and being by yourself. That will wrap up part 5 of the workshop. From today, some things to think about or practice on your own. It's kind of similar to what we talked about at the end of part 4. Continuing to use that inventory, specifically try to attend to some activities that would be pleasant activities, some that would be mastery activities, and especially some that would be social activities, and trying to incorporate those more into your daily routine. My recommendation is to set yourself a goal for the week ahead to try and incorporate 2 pleasant activities over the course of the week, again, starting small, 2 mastery activities, 2 social activities. And again, these would be in addition to what you're already doing. Could be in addition to the things that you listed on the inventory after part 4. Can also be activities in addition to what you've already been doing throughout depression, some things that haven't gone away. Just trying to add more of these activities in can really help to reduce depressive symptoms and give us more of a sense of enjoyment and reward in our daily lives.